There's a chess grandmaster named Magnus Carlsen who, at the peak of his career, made some of his most decisive moves in under 3 seconds. Not his worst moves, his best ones. Meanwhile, amateur players, people who had studied the same openings, read the same books, would sit at the board for 4, 5, 6 minutes on those exact same positions and lose. A therapist named Marsha Linehan, who developed dialectical behavior therapy, documented something similar in her clinical work. The patients who made the most progress were rarely the ones who thought hardest about changing. They were the ones who acted within a narrow window, before the analytical brain fully engaged and started building cases against the action. And there's a less famous example, but the one that stuck with me. A study of financial traders found that their most accurate predictions weren't their most considered ones. They were the ones made in the first few seconds of reading a brief, before secondary analysis kicked in. 3 different domains, 3 different skill levels, 1 pattern. The people who act well aren't the ones who pause longer. They're the ones who've learned something specific about when pausing destroys them. Psychologist Dijksterhuis spent years studying what he called unconscious thought theory. The idea that for complex decisions, your brain actually processes better when you stop consciously thinking about them. His 2006 research suggested that deliberate analysis helps on simple choices, but for high complexity ones, it can actively interfere. I want to be honest with you. That specific theory has been challenged since then. The replication record is mixed, but the underlying observation it points to is consistent across cognitive science. There is a window, right at the moment of decision, where continued deliberate analysis doesn't clarify, it contaminates. I call that window the clarification trap. Here's the mechanics. When a decision is in front of you, your first read is a compressed integration of everything you already know. Your second read is your brain starting to audit that first read. Your third read is your brain auditing the audit. By the time most overthinkers act, they're on read 7 or 8, and they're no longer reasoning about the decision. They're reasoning about their reasoning. I used to call this being thorough. I was actually building elaborate justifications for staying still. The default response to hesitation, for most analytical people, is to treat it as an information problem. You hesitate, so you research more. You look for the thing you missed. You want to feel certain enough, and certainty, for an analytical person, feels like it should be earnable. It isn't. Certainty on meaningful decisions is a feeling your brain generates after commitment, not before. You have it backwards. The brain doesn't confirm your choice before you make it. It confirms it to reduce dissonance once you've made it. So when you wait for certainty to arrive before acting, you're waiting for something that structurally cannot come. The clarification trap isn't about bad thinking. It's about applying good thinking at the wrong moment. Not everyone falls into this the same way. Here are the 4 types I've identified, each with a distinct mechanism. Type 1, the expander. You hesitate because you keep adding variables. A new consideration surfaces, and instead of noting it as a data point, you treat it as a reason to restart the decision process from scratch. The mechanism is scope creep in your own cognition. Real example, someone deciding whether to launch a side project who, after 2 weeks of research, is now also evaluating whether they should switch careers first. Type 2, the Calibrator. You hesitate because you're trying to get the quality of the decision perfect before executing it, not the outcome, the decision itself. You want to make sure you're deciding correctly, not just that you're deciding. The mechanism is meta-analytical paralysis. You're evaluating your evaluation process. Type 3, the Deferrer. You hesitate because you're waiting for the right moment, some external condition to align before you can reasonably act. Not because the condition is genuinely required, but because its absence feels like a legitimate excuse the social world would accept. The mechanism is permission seeking disguised as patience. Real example, someone who would start the business if only they had a certain amount in savings. But the savings target keeps moving. Type 4, the reopener. You've made the decision, you've committed, and then you reopen it. Not because new information arrived, but because the discomfort of commitment surfaced, and your brain mistook that discomfort for a signal that something is wrong. The mechanism is false negative feedback. Discomfort is being misread as data. Real example, accepting a job offer, then spending the next 72 hours Googling reasons it might be a mistake. Here's where I need to be precise, because I've seen this kind of framework weaponized. Failure mode 1. This doesn't apply when the cost of error is asymmetric and irreversible. The clarification trap is real for decisions where action and inaction carry roughly similar costs of being wrong. It does not mean act fast on medical decisions, significant financial commitments, or anything where the downside is permanent. Speed is not a virtue on those. The framework breaks when people use "I'm an overthinker" as a blanket excuse to skip necessary diligence. Failure mode 2. Type matching is harder than it looks. People misidentify their type. Most analyticals will gravitate toward type 2 because it sounds the most intellectually flattering. The Calibrator sounds thoughtful, but sometimes they're actually a deferrer using intellectual language as cover. The taxonomy only helps if you're honest about the mechanism, not just the surface behavior. One question per type. Take the one that creates the most discomfort. For the expander, when did the decision scope last change, and did new information cause that, or did I? For the calibrator, am I trying to improve the decision, or am I trying to feel better about the process of deciding? For the deferrer, if the condition I'm waiting for arrived tomorrow, would I actually act, or would I find a new condition? For the reopener, is the new doubt based on new data, or is it based on the fact that commitment now feels real? If you recognize your type in that taxonomy, the next question isn't "what's my type?" It's "what do I actually do with a real decision today?" That's the gap this workbook addresses. It's called Daily Micro Decisions for Introverts. It's a free 3-day starter workbook, and it won't ask you to think harder. It moves you through 3 phases: noticing your energy patterns on day 1, quietly protecting your decision-making space on day 2, and on day 3, the one that connects most directly to what we covered today, making and keeping one small promise to yourself. That last day is specifically about rebuilding the self-trust that gets eroded every time you hesitate past the window. Not through motivation, through one small follow-through, done once today. The link is in the description. Now, here's something I want to leave you with before the next video. You just watched a framework about why you hesitate on your own decisions. But there's a related pattern that almost nobody talks about, and it's more frustrating because it involves other people. Most overthinkers are remarkably good at solving other people's problems. You can see the answer clearly. You know what your friend should do. You know what the right call is in the meeting. But when it comes to your own situation, the same clarity disappears. That's not a coincidence, and it's not a character flaw. The next video is called "Why You Can Solve Everyone's Problems Except Your Own." And it's about the specific cognitive reason your analytical mind works against you when you have skin in the game. If that sounds like you, please subscribe so you don't miss it. I'll see you there.